so many things there. I wasn't even sure which one to like first draw out. But because you spoke about therapy and, to imagine like all the bottling that men have had to do and continue to do, and not to say that women don't bottle or whatever, but again, it's just different for us. Imagining all of that, I want to ask actually Tura, if by any chance, sorry, I put you on the spot. Hi. But I was wondering if, like, even just a general, it doesn't have to be a specific statistic. Are suicide rates higher for men?
7 out of 10 suicides are male.
That's heartbreaking because, and I asked that because I was just, as I was reading and taking notes for this conversation, I watched a video, could have been, I think it was on Al Jazeera, that was about, suicide rates in Europe and no, in the Middle East, and there was a gentleman who was speaking about it because he had attempted suicide at some point, and he was saying, this is exactly what he said. I wrote it down. He said, when you take your life, your pain, it feels like in your mind, when you think about it, you think, I'm going to take my life and my pain will now be gone forever. But he said, but in a sense, it doesn't. It gets passed on to all the people you leave behind. And it's sad because we keep hearing that phrase, a fatherless generation. Oh, that's heartbreaking stuff, because a fatherless generation, you know? But I thought that was something we should talk about. But and in speaking about vulnerability in particular, I've also heard people say that, that we are expecting so much, I don't know, whatever that means, that we're expecting, so much softness from men now, and that is becoming a problem. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Like, do you feel like we are feminizing the man in a way? Because I've actually, I don't know if you guys have heard some interesting conversations that happen online sometimes. And they're like, oh, women are expecting all of this vulnerability from men and whatever. Like the man is no longer the man, and so on and so forth. And it's just interesting to think that, okay, that's the way some people are appreciating it. Do you feel like there's any truth to that? That now we are expecting the man to become, I suppose, something that's uncomfortable. Maybe it's just discomfort.
Um, I feel like most men are going through. So there are three main crises that men usually go through: the identity crisis, existential crisis, and the midlife crisis. And these crises are usually a response, a trauma response to societal demands on them. When you're a boy, you are being taught to be a man. And when you become a man, you're being taught to unlearn the things you were taught to be a man. When you get married, you are being taught to be a husband after you get married, by the way. Because that's the other thing. I noticed this. Girls are raised to be wives generally in society. Boys are raised to be men. And then after they get married, they say, now you need to be a, and then figure it out. You get? So you need to be strong and soft. You need to be weak and powerful. You need to be male and female all at the same time. Or you need to be masculine and feminine. You need to be vulnerable, but also don't show. so, so there is a demand at every one of those stages. And men, their trauma response is usually to hide behind the things they find strength in. So, they might find strength in what the society will define is, this is what a man is. Man is a guy who's going to sleep with anyone. A man is a man who's going to drink some hard liquor. A man is a man if he's going to to drown himself in his work and define himself by what he does. And so when you have men like those masquerading, they're broken, beat down horribly by the world, but they have to show the strength. That's a broken man. What do you think is going to happen when he is squeezed by a person who they want to be vulnerable with, but they can't understand what's in there? That is to say, when they're married. Because you come into the marriage with an expectation. You have an image of the kind of man you want, and you're hoping that this is what he will be. Yeah, he presented it again because that is what society demanded of him. So, he's broken. He's messed up. He doesn't quite understand. He is trying to define who he is, all the same time asking questions about his existentialism. He's also dealing with the fact that his life is about to come to a sudden close. And then there he is in a marriage where the woman requires him to be a husband. And this is why we're talking about the statistics. 370,000 couples end in divorce in Uganda every year. This was a statistic done in 2020. So it probably has gone up. And this is probably why. So when a man tries to find his identity in the things he does, he finds that it is not enough to define him because there's always more to give. And so he's in an existential crisis. And when he can't deal with the existential crisis, he'll give up and be like, you know what? I'm 50 years old, but I'm going to deal like the 25-year-old I was. Because there, at least, I could understand what that was about. So they buy posh cars and sleep with, and they become sugar daddies and all this stuff. And that's the way the world is pushing. When it's talking about vulnerability, my hope and prayer would be that the self-awareness is seen in, let me come to the realization that I'm actually a broken man and be okay with that I'm actually broken, therefore I need help. Which is why I had issues. Yeah, I am loved at home. Whether I'm enough, I find that a bit, if I think I'm enough, I'm going to demand that you treat me as enough. And yet I'm a work in progress. So, I don't know whether that's enough. So I'm not sure that I can say I'm enough. All I can say is that I'm loved and growing. And that's what needs to happen. So, surrounding myself with men that have shared values, not just opinions. Shared values means that you need to have values. That these values need to be actually values. And so we come together and share these values, and we are challenging each other about what we ought to be together. But for a long time, we have been pushed into our islands because we find ourselves in all these situations. Every man is for himself because we are being pushed to, just make the money. Just, bang that chick and get over with it. It's just going to be, like, that's the kind of, unfortunately, there are not that many men who have those many values. And so our challenge would be, in that space, what kind of values are we holding? Are we upholding? How are we raising the boys with, especially the single moms? Because you definitely know what a bad man is. That one you know. That means you can identify who a good man is. But because of the pain that you have felt, because of the bad men around, it's easy for you to just quickly sum up that all men are the same. Therefore, I'm going to take it up myself, and we raise continuously broken men.
And I just like to add to that. I heard someone say that obviously we have different masks, but because this whole idea of men are trash, if you assign someone a mask which does not serve you, that mask is there to control you. And unfortunately, if you assign someone a mask that does not serve you, it's there to control you. So anything remotely connected to it will always make you feel some type of way. You, not the other person. So I think it's really important to understand that.
You've given us some powerful quotables. And
the mirror, here's an cool one. The mirror does not smile before you do.
Bruh.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, the gentlemen in this room, I think I can speak for most of the ladies. We love men. We don't hate. We don't think all men are trash. Men are wonderful human beings. We just, We just want us, to, all of us, even women, to do better.
They have trashy behavior sometimes. Yeah. All right.
Every now and then. Every now and then. So, I mean, okay. So, can someone give Maria a mic? Now, I love that in this room, actually, most people have met you at some point somewhere. I love it. So, just before she speaks, because we're talking about vulnerability, I think it would be amazing also to hear from women, because when we talk about, for example, right, how have you seen your man cry? Anyone? Have you seen your man cry? You have? Okay, a couple of people have. First of all, even see how few people have seen their men cry. How did it make you feel? Like, how did you feel, Claire?
I didn't know what to do. Like, what am I so? Wow, kindly don't do it. Don't be crying in front of me.
Who else felt like that? Honestly, like, this is a judgment-free space. Like, do it make you feel uncomfortable by any chance? Anyone? You guys are woke and healed. That's good. But I think I wanted us to talk about, like, how we actually, like, are we ready for the emotionally intelligent man? We talk about him a lot.
Really?
Like, are we ready?
Yeah.
We're like, men best be going to therapy. Men best be getting vulnerable. Men need to be doing this. Are we ready? Or we'll be like,
Facts.
okay, babe, you can cry, but cry 2 tears.
Yeah.
After those 2,
Yeah.
please, you only cry on funerals, and that funeral must be your mother's. You only cry. Do you know what I mean? Like, are we ready for, like, that man that's actually gonna be Let's think about it, Maria.
Hi, everyone. I've known Fiona for quite a while, but I'm excited to be here. I think this is the best I've spent my Saturday. Going back, like, way back, and I'm on vacation. So, got up early and came in here, and can't even believe it's 4. I'm like, this is really fun. But I do have a question for the men. Before that, I would love to share that I've been married 14 years. And and every time someone talks about being submission, I cringe because it's a struggle. Like, it is a struggle. Be independent with all you do. I work hard and all that. And when the young lady here talked about, it's my money. I'm the one who made the money. One thing I would share is 14 years ago when I got married, the best advice I ever got was marriage, create your formula. And I think he mentioned it, create a formula that works for you. People who look at my marriage on the outside may be thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know how they're still married. She's crazy, he's very calm, as they say, opposites attract, right? So you create yours, and what's helped me is I found a role to play in my marriage so that I don't have to think about submission. So I call myself the CEO of our marriage, and he's the CFO. So we are at the same level, right? But everyone has their role that they're playing in making decisions, right? So, and when I say it, he keeps on saying, you need to stop saying it. I'm like, it's the truth. Even when someone asks, if he has a decision to make and he has already made that decision, he's still going to ask me, what do you think? Just so that we are both at sea level and we are agreeing, yes, you get what I mean? So to anyone, I would advise the ladies, if you're struggling with it, because 14 years later, I still struggle. Every time I hear submission, I'm like, no. But I found a role. I'm the CEO, he's the CFO, and we make it work. But my question is, I have an 11-year-old son. And I worry about generational, traits, traits, because we're talking about vulnerability in men and mental health and all that, but what can we do different? If you look back to your 11-year-old self, what should your parents have done to help you so that you don't have this trauma that we keep referring to? Because I'm trying to be very intentional with my parenting. Like, I have these intentional conversations with my son where I'm asking him, how was your day? Did something hurt you today? Like, did someone make you feel a certain way? So if you look back 11 years, when you were 11, what would you want your parents to do for you differently? Because it would help us women as we're trying to raise the boy child so that they're not too vulnerable. the Reverend spoke about we're told to be men, they're told to be men and then a husband after. So what should we do differently to help the boy child now so they don't struggle, so that they are woke, they are aware? So if any, I'm opening for any guy to help us out as women, because we don't know, but we have to do it. And our men only know what they know. So is there any advice that you would give? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's an amazing question. I'm going to give it to Gideon specifically because you're married and a dad, but I definitely also want to hear what you guys think, because her question stretches across, that at that age, what things do you feel you would have benefited from that would have maybe brought you, closer to this self-awareness? So let's start with you, Gideon.
Thank you. I appreciate the intentionality in wanting to be a part of this child's life at that stage. I had the privilege, a privilege not many of my contemporaries had, the privilege of having both my parents be intentional in my life at that time. I used to think that was the normal thing, and I realized whenever I would tell my story, they would feel like it's a fairy tale story. My dad telling me stories at the end of the day as we go to sleep, and waking us up as we go to work. He prays with us, fast, and he was very involved. He has been involved in our lives, in my life particularly. In spite of that, I still had societal wounds, expectations. I'm the firstborn as well. And from age 5, so those of you who were born in the 80s, you know that the 90s were traumatic because of AIDS. Your nightmares were the monster AIDS. And so because of how the society was at that time, I felt like I was a black sheep in the home. And as a result, I had suicide ideation. That meant that I was constantly thinking about ending my life because I didn't feel worthy of being in that home. I felt like this, and it's nothing that they did. They did their very best. Unfortunately, that was my problem, because I believed a lie about myself as told by society. The thing that I appreciated for those years, there were over 14 years of suicidal ideation, that I appreciated about my parents is that never did they impose on me I need to be a certain way because I am coming from that family. They gave me their true selves, their authentic selves. My father is a retired clergyman, and people who come from families like those can tell you that sometimes what they do up there and who they are at home, they're two different things, which is why most of them end up forsaking the faith. My father, on the other hand, I had the privilege, the grace of God. The person that was up there was the same person that was at home. And he taught me what it means to be vulnerable, because I saw him apologizing to us at the age of 8. He said, "Son, I'm sorry. I spoke to you in a wrong way." And in so doing, just by being the godly man and my mom being the godly woman she was, I picked up on that. And even in my struggle of suicide somehow that carried me along. And eventually we began to have conversations as to why I wanted to end my life. And in those conversations, then he began to affirm me. He began to speak life, as it were. Because at the time, what defined you as a good boy, good girl, is good grades. And I had none of those. Therefore, I was no good for anyone. And so him speaking into my life and hearing his voice and my mom's tenderness as they prayed with me and as they struggled with me through that journey till I was about 14, I began to see I was overcoming what I was seeing myself as, because they were consistent, and they didn't try to mold me into the person they wanted. They were simply saying, we are stewards. You have been given to us as a gift, and we want to do our best to raise you the way we can. Were they perfect? Absolutely not. They were making all kinds of mistakes because of what they knew and how they were raised themselves. But it was outstanding to see the authenticity of my parents on and off the court, as it were. And so my only wisdom I'd give you is relinquish the need for control, controlling the circumstances so that the child can become who you think they need to be. Journey with them through all that until they become their own people, confident about who they are because they are loved.
Thank you for that. I'm also taking it into my future on a serious note.
Fiona,
I know sometimes
just-
like, you guys must also be feeling it. Sometimes these guys say things and you're like, and then me as the moderator, I have to keep talking. I want to keep quiet and ponder. Anyway,
So, Fiona, just a second.
no, go ahead.
As an 11-year-old, I look back now and knowing what I know now, there's obviously quite a number of things I would have wanted my parents to do for me, for example. But I want to start by saying that I think for you, the fact that you are intentional, that's 80% of the work done. Right? That intentionality, like just being present and wanting to be a good parent, is a very, very brilliant beginning. Many parents don't care, right? And not don't care because they don't love you, no. But they don't care because, for example, many of us were raised in extended families, right? So some of the parenting is kind of co-opted to somebody else, There's delegation of parenting to an aunt, to an uncle, all of whom have their own different experiences with life. And so the main parent ends up contributing just a small percentage to what this child eventually is going to be. And today, as a parent, you can't afford to let society parent on your behalf. You can't afford to do that. First of all, because we live in an era of ridiculous information, right? And as a parent, if you're not keen on what your child what information they're interacting with, you're going to raise yourself a problem, right? So that's the first thing, yeah? That you have to be willing to parent. And willing to parent also means being able to set boundaries that other people can't come into your family to parent on your behalf, because that happens a lot. The child's grandma, the child's grandpa, they have ideas of how a child should be raised, right? But remember, they were raised a certain way. They were raised a certain way that we've agreed wasn't necessarily good. Now you know better, right? So you have to create that demarcation. The other thing I would have wanted from my dad, or even from my mom, was just honesty. And honesty for me, honesty is not necessarily bringing bare facts or truth to an 11-year-old. Honesty is just being truthful and open to your child, because there's a lot you also don't know, and that's the honest truth. There's a lot you don't know. I think the challenge for many parents is they want to be seen by their children as the know-it-all, And the problem with that is this child actually will believe that you're a know-it-all. So one day, you're going to misguide them, and they will take that information as gospel truth. That's the problem. So your child has got to know from the onset that you're not a know-it-all. So that's the honesty I'm talking about, right? You've got to be very honest with your child. So that's what that's what I wanted. For example, there was a time when my dad was struggling. And he kind of hid it from us, right? Obviously, as the firstborn, I was privy to certain information, and because it was an extended family, there's so many people to pay school fees for. So sometimes he sits down and he's like, okay, so we'll pay half of this, a third of this, we'll pay half of this, we'll pay everybody bits and pieces. Now, me on this end, as the firstborn, first of all, I'm thinking to myself, I'm your firstborn son. Why are you not paying my full fees? it's not registering in my mind that yes, I'm his biological child. There's these children who are not his biological children, but he has a responsibility to them. Now, me as an 11-year-old, I don't have those facts. I don't know that even though you're not somebody's biological dad, if you've taken up the responsibility, it's due to you. So as a child, I want to be told the truth that, you know what, here is the truth. We don't have enough money. So if you've written down your requirements and they're 40,000 and you get 15,000, don't be angry. It's because somebody else must get. So those truths, I wanted to be told those. Because I grew up with a bit, I grew up feeling some type of way, and yet it's just because I didn't have the facts, right? So then the final thing that I would have wanted my parents to do for me a lot more, and this is something that, obviously, again, with hindsight now, I realize that perhaps they didn't have the tools for, they didn't have the facilities for, right? I think I wanted my parents to walk with me in life, walk with me in the sense that there are certain things that an 11-year-old is going through, adolescent things that are coming on them, right? And sometimes parents shy away from that conversation. And they're like, maybe the teachers will deal with this. You know, this is, somebody will deal with, and because boys, unlike girls must have their hands held, right? Because when a young girl experiences blood for the first time, it's like, what's happening, right? Boys, on the other hand, are normally abandoned. They're like, you'll figure things out. That 11-year-old needs to be held, as a boy. Because as he was saying, if you hold his hand, that 11-year-old, and there are certain things he's going to go through, he's going to get his first girlfriend, right? But if he feels like you are on his team, he'll be happy to tell you that, look, mom, there's this girl I like. You want them to be, you raise them into the people they have to be. It's as simple as that. So just hold his hand. There's many random, bizarre questions he's going to ask you that you don't have answers to. And it's okay. It's okay to not know, right? It's okay to tell him, we are dealing with this thing together. You know as much as I know. What that does for him, it gives him a sense of comfort in that, okay, so my mom also doesn't know much. So if I learn something out there, be it good or bad, she's the first person I'm going to tell. That I've heard that, I've heard about this thing called masturbation. What is it? Because he has this feeling that my mom and I are on the same page. If there's anything that happens to me, she's going to hold my hand, whether it's good or bad. So you'll hear something random, and he'll come and ask you. And maybe you don't have the answers, and it's fine. But at least allow him to be comfortable to ask you no matter how horrible the question. Just that.
Okay, thanks. Because both of you in some way have hinted on affirmation in particular, Wanda, would you say that's something that you feel you would have benefited from in your, let's use the age of 11, that would have contributed? Because I feel like for women, we grew up with a lot more affirmation than men, than boys. Everyone is telling you you're beautiful. Everyone is telling you you're amazing. You're a queen. You're strong. You're, wow, you're just, amazing. So do you feel, and I know that men grow up with a lot less of that. It's usually just what do your things? You're a man.
You're a man.
Do you feel that like that's something that would be a good thing?
Yeah, definitely. It would be a very good thing. I just feel like my mom was not particular. Like, she used to affirm us every day, like through prayer. You're more than a conqueror. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? Them ones. At night. Eh? But in the morning, in the midday there, it's different KBs, And my mom was lethal with the verbal. She would mess you up with her words, like you're undoing the things you prayed about last night. Well, go on. You know what I mean? Like, You're praying at night. We even hide behind beds now when you hear the cow hooting to come and, affirm us. But in the daytime, it's a whole different topic. You're this, you're that, you're this, that. It's just everything. I really I have a problem with the power of the tongue. It really does me a certain way. I don't like people who speak death. I mean, I like to crack jokes, but people who speak death is not the thing that I like. So it definitely would have worked. I just feel like my mom should have, personally, obviously, most of you guys know my mom on social media. I have established a relationship with her that was not there years before. If I was 11, she should have understood the music industry. She would have saved me a whole lot of explaining, by the way. But she didn't want to hear all that quencher. So, just to reiterate what you guys are saying, I think the willingness for her to admit that she was learning on the job, that is, like, if you're raising your kids today, don't pretend that you have it free, because those kids will see through that quencher. I'm telling you now, they will see it. And it might take a while, but they will see it. And you'll start to see it come out through the way they, their personalities and so on. And that means they don't have the right environment sustainable enough for them to open up to you. I didn't have that with my mom growing up. By the grace of God, that came up most recently here. Now she's my, I love her to death, but that connection was not there. I could not sit in a room with her and tell her about my deepest hurts. And, you know what I mean? You don't know, like, already you've been giving me this, that this is how things are. And I might not even put them into speech, but something subconsciously teaches me that there's a disconnect in who you are and what you're saying. So by virtue of that alone, I want to keep it to myself or find a company of people, peer pressure, that will now welcome me with open arms to now give me all these things. And now before you know it, you've delved into a lifestyle that is completely off because you had no connection at home. So I think affirmation would be good, but you see, more than affirmation, it's like, before you say it, be it, again, we talk a good game. We like to talk a good game, but delivery is a whole different thing. So, yeah, parenting, the vulnerability to admit that you're growing as you're nurturing, to also admit that you're also stewarding. This child is not yours to vicariously live your dreams through. Like, be a doctor, a lawyer. No, bro, listen, first be easy. That's not the cloth I'm cut from. I am a different guy. And the more you keep teaching me to become this person, I'm walking away from my authentic self. And most of us here are walking like a bunch of, they have been trained to live completely opposite from who God designed them to be because of where they came from. Me, one thing I thank God for, every waking day I am walking in what I've been called to become. To the point that even my own mom thanks me for standing on my 10 toes and saying, no, I will not go that route. I refuse to go that route. And that has created a relationship with my mom that was not there. So vicariously, subconsciously, she was begging to believe me, but she didn't have the, So I think I also attribute it to the trials, life also dealt me a crazy, I've been around, man, been in the trenches, So the trenches also taught me, and I thank God for the trials. And also another thing, a willingness to make mistakes. Parents don't want us to make mistakes. Let the child fail. There's so much I've learned in failure than anyone ever taught me by empowering, by enabling me. Oh, let's cover you, let's put you in the fence, stay in the fence. Me, I used to run, escape, and go in Bivand and deal with ghetto youths. Now, a person like me, there's no one I cannot connect with the way I look like. And I've learned that by simply failing. So the ability to not, I don't want my child to suffer because like I suffered. What does that mean? I don't want my child to go. By that, you're trying to, put a hedge around them, but you're not helping them. You're teaching them to just stay within the confines of your idea of safety. And by the time you open them up to the real world, they're exposed. And then the world just comes and just has a field day. So it's not easy. Again, this is good on paper, but I think the easy thing my mom should have done was, learn about the music industry.
And that's on that. Claire, you wanted to say something?
I remember my mom told me, now I have a girl child, but my mom told me this one thing. We're all very close to her. My siblings are both here. And one is a guy. Say hi. I dare you to say hi. So we're all very close to our parents. Well, our dad died, but we're very close to our mom. And we tell her everything, every single thing. Every single thing. There's nothing I am too ashamed to tell my mom. And this has been since we were kids. And she told me when I had my daughter that protect your relationship with your child. Protect your bond with your child. And that will come with the words. My mom never call, actually she calls us abalungi tugende. You know, when she's calling us to go, even now, she calls us abalungi. And I found that and I suppose it's with boys as well, because we have a boy child as well, that she has protected her relationship with us regardless of what we do. And that has also protected us because we are able to go back to her even when we have failed, even when we have done something wrong, and we know we will not get judgment. She's not going to give us a pat on the back when we say we've done A, B, C, and D, but she's going to lovingly correct you, you know? And I found that was such profound advice, because I think I'm one person who has screamed, I want to be the mom my mom was. That's how good a mom I think she was. There's very little I would change about her parenting of us. Of course, she was not perfect. But to me, she had a level of perfection that I would love to get to. And that's my version, you know. So I'd say one thing I'm taking into my parenthood is protect communication and the bond between you and your child, always at all costs.
Anyway, we'd like to open up for maybe 2 or 3 before we close. I see your hands up, Paula. So someone give Paula a mic, please. If there's someone nearby, I can take it for her.
Thank you, Fiona. This time I'm going to behave. You wait, just wait and see. Yeah, so I'm going to divert us a little bit from this conversation of parenting. I'm a single parent, but I fear to share my views, so I'm just going to jump that one. Please allow me. Let me just. Yeah. So I have a question for Claire, for Fiona, and the other ladies in the room. Something Fiona said before Maria was talking about her son and the men were advising. Fiona asked if we are ready for the emotionally available man. And the first time I heard that was on a podcast. It's related, I promise. Thank you, Fiona, because you plugged me on that, girl. Yes, so that's the first time I heard it. And I was like, yeah, good question. This morning, as I was getting ready to come and thinking about the theme and what is it going to be and what value, all of those, I was thinking about, and ladies, please, let's be honest, it's a safe space. How many men have you sent to the streets? So he came, he was nice, he did all the things, he liked you, he maybe first stared at you for weeks, and all the things. But how many, Samantha, you've understood. We are saying that we want them to do all of those things, but how many men came and did all of those things? And you were like, I want to hear. So, I was just, brushing my teeth, getting ready, and I was like, God, forgive me. God, forgive me. Forgive me. Because I have also sent some. Yes, and it's worth recognizing our brokenness, like you all were talking about, because, what happens is that, he gives it his best effort, the best way he knows how, right? Approaches someone who thinks him like souls, right? And he's like, you know what? You know what, right? Unfortunately for men, because of what you've been talking about, so there's no community. If he goes back to his friends, they're like, no, who told you to go there? Who sent you? You should have come here, we tell you, then you go. Yeah, they're just going to bash him down further, right? He can already picture how that conversation is going to go. Yeah, and so most of them don't have, community, discipleship, all the things. So they're like, let's just, join the pack. And then and it's once you go on the streets, it's hard to come out and go back to like, it used to be those days when they call you at 4 p.m., you're like, I'm home. So yeah, my question is to the ladies, how many people have you sent to the streets, and are we aware of our responsibility, our role in breaking them down even further, and then asking them at the same time to be?
I feel like that's a rhetorical question for us to go back home and ponder, because she's speaking the facts of the case that are tough, because I've thought about that. And you only have like the benefit of hindsight when you're older, because you're then older. I've had those, do you remember a time and you're like, why did I do that to somebody's son? You're like, well, it's true. I think it's good for us to keep on introspecting about the role that we have, because even in defining masculinity and femininity, the way we define masculinity has so much to do with us, women, what we are putting out for them to receive and then act on, and vice versa. So that, girl, you are shouting, but we took it, and because we are woke and we want to change.
Yeah, Fiona, can I just quickly add that very many decent guys out there that we talk to and stuff, they've been in that area where he presents himself and he's trying to be the best version of himself, and you can see he's really trying, right? But there's this Prince Charming that Madame has in her mind, and he's kind of not measuring up, right? Yeah, and she looks at him and she's like, I wish I could get. You're really kind, and you're very compassionate, and you're reasonable, and you're intelligent. I wish you're even good looking and stuff. I wish I could get somebody like you. And it's like, I am somebody like me, right? I am me, right? Right? Yeah, it happens so many times, right? And for very many men who are unlike me, in the sense that as a happily single person, I'm very rarely in a place where we're having that conversation of, okay, so what? I have no time for that nonsense, right? But very many men are like they're looking for Babezi, like a good person, and he's trying. He's not the best out there, but he's giving it a shot, and he's having a conversation with this lady who has her standards up in the sky, which is okay, right? But if your standards are up in the sky, you best be in the sky yourself. It's a bit it's a bit unfair for you to have right, to have standards. You have standards of somebody in an airplane. You've never been to an airport yourself. I think that's a bit unfair, right? So for women, when you have these standards, as I said, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror, not physically, like literally, because that might scare you. No, don't do that. But yeah, where could we move? Right? Yes. Because as we kind of all agree that the conversation about the partner you want starts from within yourself. Yeah, and a good number of women, at the risk of sounding like I'm summing all up, whatever, don't have that conversation with themselves. They know the kind of man they want, but they're not sure of the kind of woman they are. So I know I want this kind of person, but who the hell are you? Like, what are your attributes? What do you bring to the table? The famous question. So yeah, you said that, and I felt like, on behalf of all the other men, thank you very much for raising it. Yes. But also women, when you're leaving this place, be cognizant of the fact that there's men who are actually trying. they just probably aren't trying the way you want them to. This guy who's, checking on you, or how are you, how was your day, and whatever, that's how he knows how to do it, right? So the best you could do is, explain to him that, okay, so if you want to be in good books with me, I need A, B, C, D. It's really that simple. Don't throw the guy to the streets. And when they throw him to the streets, there's other women who are going to suffer from that guy, right? So do it for all of women. If you can't do it for yourself.
Claire is saying, you're greeting the guy, like the guy is greeting you, as in, how do these two things connect?
Hello, everyone.
Don't ask me how I am. Ask me
But that's where the problem is.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just a side note.
I think
Hello,
what you've said
everyone.
is, just a sec. Sorry, someone was saying something. Give me 1 second. I just want to respond real quick because what you were saying applies exactly the same way. I think both ways. Because I was just thinking about even us when we are sent to the streets. You can just find us in a way, just ready to just. Don't think we also don't do those things, you guys. Whoa, open your eyes. We actually need. So it really is like it actually works both ways because man, guys, also, when you think about the guys you've sent to the streets, in fact, what gives you comfort is that also you were sent to the streets. You're like, anyway, even me, they sent me to the streets. But we're doing better. We're doing better. We don't want that to be, our story. But yeah, you guys, self-awareness. Let's do better for ourselves so we have better to give because it's messy. It's messy. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So I'd like to add to what Paula said. I'm really bad with names, but the gentleman in green mentioned Bewall, yes. They asked him about if he would be the kind of man who would accept his woman having more money than he does, and he said that he would enjoy that situation. And I saw our reactions, and a lot of us were like, But believe it or not, that's an emotionally intelligent man. Like he knows his value outside of what he brings, outside of the finances that he puts on the table. He knows his value, right, as a man. And I think, we say we want men to protect and provide. Claire mentioned protect and provide, but protecting and providing can come in different ways. A man can provide emotional safety. A man can provide you the ability to heal. A man can protect you from your traumas and insecurities around that. But we as women, because we are also healing from the patriarchy, we can't see that we're not ready for the emotionally intelligent man. We can't see that when he comes with his emotional intelligence, for us we see it as, but you're also not bringing the money home. I mean, he's seeing that he's providing and protecting in a different way, and he's doing his best, like people are saying. But because we have been taught that it looks like X and Y, I believe that as women, we also have work to do. If we say we want an emotionally intelligent man, that he's going to come in all shapes and sizes, and we should be ready for that. That was my addition.
The guys here all like, protect that woman. Yeah, protect Paula. Protect them. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? I'm in my name is Abbas Mpindi. I'm in a position where I speak all the time, so when I have an opportunity to keep quiet, this is one of my best events this weekend. So again, being sent on the streets, it's not even being sent on the streets, it's how we are sent on the streets, right? Toina sente, ori mumpi. And I don't think women should be, entertain each and every person that comes their way. You have also your sort of like standards, but as Bill said, if you have the standards, then in my case, what I wanted to share mostly is on this idea of vulnerability and how we talk about it, because dictionary-wise, it's weakness, susceptibility, but the way we build it into conversations, and I'm in a position where I lead young people. So I take vulnerability as a life skill. So it's not about how often you cry, right? It's more than that. Are you listening? Are you giving other people an opportunity to speak? Are you opening doors for others to find an opportunity to build their capacities? So it's not really about, exposing certain you can cry, but for me it's more than that. And the moment we build it either in spaces that allow people to see it as a life skill, but also as an aspect of leadership, then there's pride in it rather than frowning at it when people call you vulnerable. And then from the conversation of masculinity, and then you look at if you're in our cases, when you say you are a thoughtful, reflective, meditative man, then your masculinity is questioned in this case, because the traits that we are looking for in a good human being, we are also not building them as values, as the Reverend said. So I spend most of my time either talking to young men and young women as well, to say, this is part of your leadership as an individual. So listening to others and knowing when not to impose either the privilege or the power that you have over others is part of what you would define as vulnerability for me. And I think I don't have any experience of growing up with parents, so I couldn't give you any tip. But I would say, don't be Madame Fix It All, because as Bill said, you don't know everything, but at the same time, you can't fix everything. So there are certain things that you should be able to say, well, we really can't have that, if that's presented as well. So, and thank you so much, Fiona and Claire, for inviting us here.
Okay, there's a hand over there and over there.
Thank you so much. My guys, I think let's not stretch it. The conversation of emotional intelligence and comfort with your wife providing. I was in a talk situation recently where a friend was sharing that the man had become comfortable. And when the man becomes comfortable, in the plight of being emotionally intelligent, I think you can struggle. Because, Reverend Gideon said, the man is the leader. And I feel like that's synonymous with protection. It goes without saying, maybe even power. And I have seen how men who are comfortable with receiving consistently, there's a struggle there. I didn't want us to stretch it so much. I think you can be wealthy, emotionally intelligent, and hardworking as well. I hope that we are not exchanging these two things, because innately, the men I've seen, the ones I'm attracted to, when I like a dress, it's not that I can't buy it for myself, but I find that my husband will be pained if he can't buy it. Unapologetically, that's the man I want. So I hope that in this conversation, we don't get it twisted with, I don't want to call it weakness, no, but I feel like definitive of a man should be hard work. It should be synonymous. And you can be hardworking and soft and vulnerable and emotionally intelligent. I just feel like a conversation was as if sliding on us to be that, I'm going to give you peace and protection. Eventually, I feel like you get tired. Guys, let's be real. Eventually, let me actually put it this way. We are working hard, and it's undeniable. I'm a lawyer, I am a msubuzi, I do a lot of things. And that means that I'm coming home. If I have to give you quality things of after midnight, I'm tired. and yeah, quality things of after midnight. I'm tired. You also want a meal. You're really peace-giving, emotionally intelligent. But so that means that if we are going to have our good quality things, let's find a way of you covering up a bit of the financial burden. You get what I mean? Because whether we like it or not, I mean, when you're there just giving me good hugs and peaceful talking, really, I don't know. So I just I don't know. I didn't want us to stretch it. I get the emotional intelligence and the hugging, but let's also say that for you to innately, you need to protect your home. Thank you.
May I add a little bit? Allow me to just interject in there.
Sorry.
I don't know that you will find an emotionally intelligent man that won't feel with you and want to do something about it. I do not think that I can define an intelligently emotional man as one who just sits back and is just laid back and does nothing. That's not. I can't define that as emotionally intelligent. And I think that is what we're asking. Are you ready for that kind of man? If you reduce him to just vulnerability and expressing feelings, I don't think that is emotional intelligence. I think that that's just being. What's the word? Yeah, you're caught up in feelings, right? But to be an emotionally intelligent person is one who asks, what do we do with these feelings? How do we go about these feelings? Where do we go with these feelings?
So there's an old wives' tale, and you don't realize this very much until you're a little older. There's, you know how many women tell you that well, send some child, like, you don't show your man, you can. Once you show your man, you can, you will. I've heard it so many times. I've heard it so many times. There's actually a lady that told me that for her, there's a one time her husband used to pay school fees, but there's this one time he couldn't pay the school fees, and she did. Mama, she has never stopped. So the truth is, and most men that lack emotional intelligence, naturally, now I don't want to say it's a fact because I have not been with all men in this world. I don't want to say it's a fact, but naturally speaking, most women, what we will not say to men is that men are naturally selfish, and if you give them a choice, lazy. So if you give them a choice, lazy. So if he sees that you can do something, he will sit back comfortably and let you. And that's a general consensus. Men might not know this, but for us, we do. And a lot of people have seen it happen. And it takes a very emotionally unintelligent, is he there? Does he exist? So, emotionally intelligent man to be able to see that no, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm trying to bring this out as carefully so as not to attack men. You get? So I'm trying to say that us women have grown up with a narrative that when you help a man do his responsibility of provision, that financial provision, you will probably do it for the rest of your life. Yeah? Men naturally do not push and fight for that. Guys, correct me if I'm trying to get the words out correctly. So if I started paying for my child's school fees, the chances are my husband will probably let me.
Okay.
Forever. He'll never say akatukata sentezo. You get? It's rare that men don't just sit back. And what I'm trying to say is that for me, in most women that I have met, I've actually never met a woman in my life who has been who has taken over provision. I have never met one that has then come out and said that he's so emotionally intelligent. At least for him, he cooks. He has no job. Is it there? Has anyone ever heard of it? that I am, yes, bringing the bacon home, but at least he wakes up early and makes sure the kids are taken care of, and he makes sure that it's still going to be, usually what you hear from women is that they're still the ones going to wake up early to make sure the kids are done. They're still going to take for him his breakfast in bed, and then get ready to go to work, and then come back, make sure food is ready, get the kids ready for bed, make sure the homework is done. I don't know if I have never heard me, I can't lie, but maybe some people have. But what I'm trying to say is that it takes a very emotionally intelligent man to say that my wife is the one making the money. It would, I suppose, my wife is the one making the money. I will take care of the home, and I will not. You see how men like peace? Me, I like peace. Me, I like peace. Yeah, I don't want problems. Be my peace.
Okay.
And then, because he's making because it's easy for us to give you a peace when you're giving us provision.
Yeah.
You get it? So we'll make sure that you don't have to worry. There's so many things we'll make sure you won't have to worry about if you're providing for me and our children. Yeah? But then we don't get the same benefit when we are the ones that are providers.
Absolutely. Okay, so I feel like there might be some things we've mixed up, right? What business do you have being with an unemployed man? Why? Look, I'm getting to I'm getting to my point, yeah. As a woman, yeah, as a partnership, the argument was, would I be okay with a woman earning more than me? That was the question, was it not? I'm earning, right? The conversation about the woman is earning and then the man takes care of the home is different. These are two different people. I don't know if we're seeing it. These are two different people. This is a man who's just a stay-at-home dad. You earn all of the bread and bring it home. But the conversation that we're having is, we are both earning, but she's earning more than I am. So let's first get that out of the way. Secondly, you mentioned something about, if you let yourself to pay, the fees, you'll end up paying endlessly. Two things. One, this is your child as well. Let's first have that in mind, right? It's not like it's his child and you're paying for him. It's your child as well. That's one. But then two, why are you with a man with whom you can't talk about the bills with? When the bills come, as she mentioned very well, that there's a CEO, there's a CFO. None is higher than the other. When responsibilities and bills and duties come, we list them down as a partnership. And then we say, you do that, you do this, you do that. Not you do that because you're the man, you do this because you're the woman. No. I don't know if we're seeing the difference. Because what that does is then you're raising, you're doing this parenting thing as co-parents, right? And the other thing that I feel needs to be mentioned is that when you have this idea in your mind that you've gotten into this partnership and this man has to provide for you, right? Every man, first of all, feels a sense of satisfaction in providing for their woman. That one is a given. Any man who doesn't feel that is a deficient man, right? Or is a subpar man, or is broken, right? So that's the first thing. Once you get a man who doesn't get satisfaction, who doesn't get a sense of completion in providing for you, there's a problem. So you'd first deal with that problem. Now, once you have the man who provides for you, the question now is, what is it that he will provide for you? A, for him to feel fulfilled, but then B, for you to feel the provision. Because sometimes the man is providing, but you're not feeling it, because he's providing things you don't need. Right? So the conversation has to happen in terms of, what is he providing that you actually need, or that gives you the feeling that the man is providing. Because very many men out there, they will pay the fees, pay the rent, and he's providing, and he's absent. He's providing, he's playing his role. The role that you've assigned that you should provide, that's what you do. Pay fees, pay rent, pay the bills, and the man is non-existent in the family. Right? So the conversation about provision has to be broadened. It has to be widened further than just the money. I feel like we reduce this conversation a lot, and it, we reduce the conversation a lot, so much that the man feels like, as long as I have a good bank balance, I will have a good marriage. See that? Which is absolutely not true. So what is being suggested now is, over and above the bank balance, right? Are there other things that the man can provide? And that's what we are trying to discuss here, right? That what can the man provide? Emotional intelligence, right? That's one thing he can provide. What can the man provide? Security, actual physical security. That, when you go out there and some man, I don't know, touches you, whatever, your man should be able to confront him and say, Sebo, what the hell is going on? Your man should be able to be that quote-unquote God for you. So over and above that financial thing, my worry is very many women and men reduce provision to just the money. And that messes both of them up. Because for the woman, they will give her all the money she wants, but she'll feel unloved, unwanted, undesired. Yet she's getting all the money. And the man on this end is saying, I'm giving this woman all the money. Why can't she give me the sex at midnight? I'm giving her everything she says she needs, which is pay the rent, foot the bills, pay a car, pay, fees. So the conversation of provision has got to be widened. Thank you.
The conversation has got to be widened. Tura, go ahead.
I know. First of all, I really lost my train of thought since she spoke. But she said something really profound that I wanted to add on to. And I just wanted to say, in the face of the conversations that we've had today, that as a born-again Christian, and as a behavior scientist, and as a woman of 41 years, and as a mother of a 17-year-old boy and a 5-year-old boy, and a friend, and so many other things, I want to say that in my life experience, men and women are foundationally different. First of all, we are wired completely different. Our evolution, even in evolution, it is different. Yeah? For example, men have a much bigger amygdala than women. That means that they can regulate their emotions much better than women. Factual. Yeah? No, it's not an anecdotal thing, it's a fact. That's how the brain is wired, right? Our roles are not just assumed out of some hole, right? There are things that we are good at and things that others are great at. That's why we work together as a team. So when we come to a community that has, first of all, and can I just add that I'm also a woman from a family where my mother has provided for us and raised us like boys, and I am also raising my kids on my own. And for all intents, I'm a tomboy myself. If I didn't have big hips, people would think I'm a raging lesbian. I'm not the most feminine person on earth. That's a fact, right? But I can tell you that when it comes down to it, I am but a woman. I want to be treated a certain way. Even though I fail my own self and sabotage my own self, when it boils down to it, there is a way that I want to be treated, okay? That is not how men want to be treated, all right? So this business, we live in a world where everything is so sensitive, everything is so fluid, everything, there is no male, there's no female, there's no, everything is nuanced. There is a reason why there is law, and there is order, and there is black, and there is white, but we just can't see it. There is no point in time where men will be more vulnerable than women. There is no, emotional intelligence is a gift that we have because of how we are wired and our roles. Men don't have to reach the same level. We don't have to. In egalitarian communities like where the divorce rate is, where people are equal, truly, the divorce rate is 99%, 98%, right? For a relationship to work, there has to be a hierarchy. Somebody has to lead, right? I mean, to me, I think that these are very simple things that we have to contend with and go within and really establish what it is that actually matters to us. But what I wanted to say was that we should remember that we are foundationally different and stop trying to force men into feminine, be more vulnerable, talk, cry, there's roles, men have roles and that's okay. Women have roles and that's okay. And if your role is not working for you, you're not comfortable, talk to your person. Come and we talk, I'm a psychotherapist, right? Let's figure it out. But to use your intellectual capacity to rationalize that for you, you want to just equalize, it's not gonna work. Thank you.
Thank you, Shura. I agree. Guys, I just want to leave everyone with one thing today. There's a book I read called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus by John Gray. If you guys read that book, there's so many questions you will not ask again. There's so many things you'll see your husband do or your partner do, and you will say, it's okay. That I understand, and you will also know how to react without conflict. I promise you. You will read the book and say, who is spying on me? You'll say that they're spying on me. And it's so funny because so many people I've talked to who've read the book relate so much. Women relate to what they say about women. Men relate to what they say about men. And a quote I can get you from the book is, men are motivated and empowered by being needed, while women are motivated and empowered by being cherished. That is our nature. That is just how things are, as per that book. But there's so many other gems in it that I think you guys should pick. And yeah, if you don't like reading, you can find an audiobook for it. Yes, and sorry. Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Yeah, by John Gray. Thank you. Okay, you'll be the last one, yeah? Thank you for the knowledge you are giving us. Sorry, I can't see them.
I'm over here.
Oh, okay.
So what I wanted to say is pretty much a reiteration of what I think Tura and the lady who spoke after her said. They took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going to borrow from Newton, one of his laws. For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. And we must be mindful in some of the things we are doing, in as much as we are seeking for more vulnerability and men showing their feminine side, on quote unquote, we must be prepared for women who are more masculine and women who are, I guess, less vulnerable, because balance exists in nature regardless. So once you do one thing on one end, there are going to be repercussions on another end. So we can't claim that we want a man in touch with his feminine side and then say we do not want leaders for women or more masculine leaning women, if I should call it that. So I think we must balance the equation pretty much and be willing. We can't have our cake and eat it too. If you want to be, if you want roles, then you have to accept the roles as they are. But you can't say we want roles, but at the same time, I also want to be independent, but I also want to be a trad wife. I think that's where the confusion is, the fact that we want everything.
Yes, Queen. Thank you. So we're going to have to close there. I know it's getting quite late. Forgive me for not giving you this opportunity. But I think we're going to have to close there because I would definitely stretch, but I'm glad actually that you were so engaged in the conversation that's the reason that we've been speaking this long. So we are definitely winding up right now. Thank you so much. Like in a very, very special way, you guys. Thank you for showing up, for buying a ticket, for consuming this content, but not even consuming, being a part of the conversation. I pray and hope that if there's something that you've gotten here, it's that you go back and think about it. You guys have given me so much to think about. So many things to think about. I hope that we're able to maybe change our minds on some things. Or even if there are some things you disagree on, you're able to respectfully disagree with them and be like, you know what, that's not for me. But I respect your thing. It's fine. So I hope that the community we've always wanted to build is one where there's no judgment, and also where we can just have a respectful conversation about things, about relating, about connecting, because a lot of these things are more complex than you realize maybe when you're a little bit younger. I'm also very grateful I spoke to 2 ladies who traveled from Kenya to come. Guys, thank you. Don't take that for granted. You are very special to us. And I know you came last year, you came this year. Sis, really appreciate it. It even shocks us. Like, you meet someone and you're like, I'm like, so you came? Also this year, I can't believe it. We don't take it for granted. Sometimes people ask you if you get used. I'm like, get used to what? It's still always a shock that people can come and sit in a room and hang out with you like this. Like, you pay your money, you come, you have this conversation, you support the businesses that support us. It's wild, actually. So thank you very, very much. You guys are actually the stars. So thank you very much. Clap. Let's just clap together for you, the stars of the show. All right, so we're going to wind up here. I know there's a couple of group photos that the Nzou team need to take of us. We also have a photo booth at the back. If you're still around, we'd be happy to, let's talk if you still have time to hang out with us. But let me hand over to the MC. Let me hand over to you. Okay, yeah, you guys, has now MC been amazing? She really has. She comes back every year. Every year.
I was your first fan. I'm biased, very, very biased. Anyway, thank you very, very, very much from the team and I for being here, for sacrificing your Saturday and just coming and hanging out with us. Thank you to everyone who has lent their voice to the conversation. It's been a really powerful conversation, has it not? Let's hear a nice big clap for these guys. We live in a world where it's just not easy to just, share your voice, share your concerns, because there's a judgment waiting around every single corner. So we are grateful to all the brave voices, our panelists for accepting to be here, all the gentlemen. This is the biggest group of gentlemen we have ever had. We are so proud of you, not only for being here, but for participating, for listening, sitting through it, not hanging out in the corridors. We are so, so happy. And I hope that as we go back into our, respective days and journeys, we'll carry something that we have learned here and just do better. Because when we know better, we do better. Yeah? Okay. I just want us to do the chant we do every year. First of all, these guys are going to say their slogan, yeah? And then we're all going to just slip in, just because I want to catch it on video, yeah? So you guys are going to do your real row, and then we'll all go, and we're saying it all. Got it? Okay. First, let's practice.
It's important to practice, because even us who have been saying it for 2.5 years now,
we miss it.
So you want us to take it from the top or just real raw?
From the top.
Okay, let's take it from the top. This is it. So, hi guys, welcome to the Unpopular Opinion. Start again. Hi guys, welcome to the Unpopular Opinion. I'm Kemi.
I'm Claire.
And we're real.
We're raw.
And
we're saying it all.
Got it on the first try.
Do we need a take 2? We don't need a take 2. Do we?
We need a take 2,
Okay.
yeah.
We hear the men's voices.
Oh, okay.
Don't be shy. All right. Hi guys, welcome to the Unpopular Opinion. I'm Kemi.
And Claire.
And we're real.
We're raw.
And
we're saying it all.
And with that, we have come to the end of the third Unpopular Opinion live show.